Welcome back to CLE Weekend. So I am hanging with the dogs this morning. Not, you, Amanda, of course. She is the owner here at Process Canine. You're like, what? Wait a second. What you don't see is all the dogs hanging down below, all around. What do you do here at Process Canine?
So we do daycare, boarding, and training.
That is one thing that so many people have dogs and they're like, oh, my dog's really good in the house, but then we go outside.
Yes.
Do you hear that all the time?
Yes, all the time.
So let's talk about if we wanted to bring our dog to you and get some training, how does that process work?
We try to fit our training to the owner and the specific needs of the dog. So generally you would call, we have an intake form on our website, you'd send that in like, here's what I'm looking for, and then you'd come in for a consult first lesson. We do have a couple like set programs, but generally we'll kind of figure out what's gonna work best for you.
Okay, now what about ages, right? Because if I've got a puppy at home, I'm like, all right, want to get the puppy in. Some people have 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old dogs that they're like, okay, I just can't deal with this dog anymore. We need some help to get the dog under control.
Another good question. So as far as like, you'll hear people say, oh, my dog's too old to train, or is there an age cap on that? Essentially, no, there's not an age cap on, but if I've got a 15-year-old dog who's been living a certain way their entire life, am I gonna go in there and disrupt that entire thing? Probably not. As far as puppies, what we typically see is like right when people get the dog, they're on it. They're like, okay, this first week we're on it, which is fantastic. Then the dog hits kind of like 6 months and the people are kind of like, hey, we did all this training, we should be done now, the dog is trained. That's the biggest mistake that people make.
Let's talk a little bit about someone who's not a dog owner. So we're out on a walk. How is the best way to kind of handle those situations if we see a dog and want to approach?
So if you see someone else like with their dog and you want to approach, always ask. And ask before you even kind of start motioning to the dog. So generally you can kind of read the situation. So if you're looking at a dog and it's like barking and lunging at you, that's probably a pass, right? That's probably not a like, can I crouch? But you'd be surprised how many people think that's an invitation.
Now, what if you are a dog owner? I've got my dog Coco and I'm walking with her. She's on a leash. You're walking towards me with your dog on a leash. Then, is it like, okay, kind of let them sniff each other out and see how do you...
Yeah, it's tricky. And it's hard, especially for people like we're in Shaker, which is everybody's out and walking around, and there's kind of this etiquette where it's like, hey, well, I hope my dog's friendly and can meet the neighbor dogs and we're trying to make friends and all this stuff. Generally, the dog trainer advice across the board is leash greetings are tricky. And usually it's better to skip them. There are lots of dogs that can do it. Typically it goes poorly. And the reason is that when dogs are on leashes, we sort of take away their freedom of movement. So they're kind of walking up to this dog and they're like, okay, I know if this goes south, I'm stuck here. And so a lot of dogs will start to kind of act tough and you'll see dogs looking reactive and that kind of thing. So if you are going to do it, you want to try to get those leashes as slack as you can. So as opposed, what people tend to do is they kind of inch. So they're kind of like a little bit, and if you're the dog, you're like freaking out. And then by the time you get there, they're just freaking out. So we kind of were like, hey, just go all in, loose leash, let them sniff. I also tell people keep it really brief, even if it's going well.
You have such great advice. Before we walk outside, I want you to tell us, because as I'm looking around, there's no crates, there's no cages here. This is kind of your philosophy that you want the dogs to feel like they're at home. Yeah,
so it's generally the approach is twofold. So we want the dogs to come here and play and have a good time and be comfortable, but we do want to maintain some structure and respecting the different styles of dogs when they're in daycare. So one of the challenges of daycare is that all these dogs are here, they want to be here for the most part, but it's not really their choice and they can't leave whenever they want to. So if they get tired or they get cranky or they get stressed, they can't really ask for space. It's tricky. So using our different rooms as a way to be like, okay, hey, like this room here is for dogs that want to nap and chill for the most part, versus dogs who are a little more playful, out and about type of thing.
Okay, I think we go find the playful dogs, the ones outside. I definitely would love to take a nap. This is, how amazing is this? This is like dog heaven. I'm loving it. But yeah, Amanda, let's go kind of check out what you've got, because I want to talk to you about a few more things as we head outside. Okay, Amanda, this outdoor space is massive.
So this is actually the biggest outdoor dog daycare yard in Northeast Ohio.
Wow, sorry to leave you, but we're going to do a little walk and talk, because there's so much out here for the dogs, especially when you have a lot of dogs, that you've got here, whether you're boarding them, daycare, training, but the training that you do, I know you were mentioning, this is large space that you use.
Yeah, it's important, like for the dogs to have the space to run around and that kind of thing. And when we're training, obviously, it's a huge advantage to be able to let them off leash in a safe area.
I've got my Coco at home, which you worked with many years ago, and she's wonderful. But one thing about Coco is when she hears loud noises. There's celebrations. she gets so scared. I'm sure a lot of people at home maybe deal with the same thing. Any tips or advice, like things that we can do in situations where we know there might be celebrations?
Yeah, so the best thing you can do is kind of get your dog a safe space. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to tell them these are just fireworks and it's fine. But you'll hear things a lot about counter conditioning, which you can work on. Like some people take the time to play like fireworks on YouTube or something really loud, and then they're feeding the dog. A lot of dogs, when the fear gets to a certain point, that's not necessarily going to get them to a place where they're like, oh, now I love fireworks. And so it's worth a shot. But generally, like making sure your dog has somewhere safe. So whether it's their crate or a room. I guess the other part of it is I don't draw more attention to it than is necessary.
Yeah.
So if I know fireworks are coming and I'm walking around like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out too, sometimes that feeds into this entire thing for the dog. So it's not that you can make the fear worse, but I can sort of draw more attention, and now I've created this huge event.
Amanda, so where can we go for more information about Process Canine if we want to come out here and see you and these other doggies?
Yeah, so our website is helpful. It's just processcanine.com. You can also look at our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing. You just look up Process Canine and kind of see what we're doing. You're also always welcome to stop in. So we're here for daycare Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And we love when people stop in and see the dogs, so you can do that too.
Yeah. I love that. All right, Process Canine. We are here in Shaker Heights. Amanda, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to go play with the dogs.
Yeah.
Is that all right? You just said, you gave me the invitation.
Come on, you can stay. Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back on CLE Weekend.